Trying to do it the right way. I waited for you.
Hey, what's going on? This is Complex Black Boy. I'm the creator of Black Boy Complex. You've just tuned in to the Black Boy Complex, and this black boy is fucking complex as shit. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I would be doing a really big disservice if I didn't kind of have a conversation about mental health. More specifically, the things that I go through, what I've gone through in the past, and my journey to now, and where I think and where I hope to go in the future. So for context, you guys already know, but maybe there's some people who don't. I am a gender nonconforming black person, queer as fuck, and I have been dealing with mental health. I don't want to say issues. I don't feel like that's the word, because it's really not. It's not necessarily, I don't feel like it's a problem. It's kind of just, I've just been dealing with my mental health for a very long time and trying to navigate through that. And it's been super, super hard for me growing up. So I will say I do have mental health background, but there's been a lot of mental health issues and complications going on in my family since before my time. My grandfather and my mother both have had a lot of mental health issues. My grandfather struggled with a lot of drug addiction, and my mother, she's bipolar. And I too am bipolar. So one thing that I want everyone to know is, first off, when you're bipolar, you're not fucking crazy. As a therapist once told me, shout out to my old doctor, Vanessa Prosper in Boston. She really was the best. Being bipolar is kind of like living life on a roller coaster a bit, you know? Sometimes you're riding this roller coaster and you're all the way up at the top and life is fucking great and blah, blah, blah. And, sometimes the conductor of the roller coaster will keep you there for a bit and it's suspenseful and you're just having a really good time. Well, if you like roller coasters. And then next thing you know, you're plummeting down. And so that's how it felt like my life was for a very long time. And I've been dealing with depression, and I didn't know that I was bipolar until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And anyway, so let's start on the story. Young Joe, I was always kind of like a moody kid, super happy, but I had my feelings. But it wasn't until my mother, it's funny, it wasn't until my mother was having a really bad moment in her life that my mental health kind of started peaking. I'm the oldest of 5, so I really had to work really fucking hard to make sure that my family my younger siblings were okay, because my mother kind of wasn't really present. And of course, it's not her fault. She just was dealing with a lot of being bipolar and having 5 kids. It's not fucking easy. It's just not. And back in the day, I used to blame her for that. But I actually just started getting really depressed. I just didn't feel like I wanted to do anything. I would stay in the bed for fucking hours, for the whole day if I could. I never came out my room. Sometimes I was eating, sometimes I wasn't. And this is just young, like 10, 11. And it really was a very, very hard time for me. It really was. Even like speaking on it now, like I can still feel the feelings that I was experiencing back when I was 10, 11, 12. So, and I would go to my counselor and I didn't feel like she was hearing me, and I didn't feel like anyone was hearing me, and I didn't want to be crazy. When you have mental health issues, everyone fucking wants to label you like you're fucking crazy. I didn't want to be crazy. I didn't want to feel crazy. I already was fucking weird in school. I was going to a predominantly white middle school in the South at the time. Like, nobody fucking felt me. Nobody got what I was going through. And so it was really fucking hard. And I remember there are many times I used to write, I feel like almost every dyke at one point used to write. Anyway, so I started writing poetry and started writing just stories and stuff. And a lot of the stories I wrote myself out. I wrote my death. I wrote myself away. And I remember just getting to a point where I wanted to fucking die. It was as simple as that. Being depressed feels like you're in this clouded room and you can't see anything outside of it. It's just like you're in like this foggy glass, and maybe there's a whole world around you, but you just can't see it. And if you can see it, you can't see it clearly. And so people might be smiling, people might be frowning, people might, it doesn't really matter what people are doing, how they're feeling on the outside of this glass. No matter what, you're always going to see like this foggy sadness or darkness, and sometimes it could just be numb and you just don't feel anything anymore. And so it got to that point, and this part is going to get really explicit. So I would suggest that if you aren't really squeamish or something like that, you might want to fast forward or maybe be out. But at this point, I remember feeling nothing, and I didn't want to be there anymore. And so I think at that point, it's kind of a blur. But at that point, I believe I went to my counselor and told her that I was considering suicide. And maybe she asked me about it, and maybe I acted like it wasn't a big deal and brushed it off. Anyway, I got home, my mother got a call from the counselor, and she asked me, she wasn't really kind about it at all. She wasn't really friendly. She kind of just was like, oh, so you want to kill yourself, huh? So you want to kill yourself? And being a preteen, I kind of bucked back, and I was like, hell yeah, I want to kill myself. Fuck this shit, I can't, I don't think I was cursing at that point. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. And she had, said, if you want to kill yourself so bad, then do it. And so I took a knife out of the nearest knife that I could find, and I began to slit my throat. And in front of her, in the living room, and she slapped the knife out. She couldn't believe it. She slapped the knife out of my hand, and that day, or was it the next day? No, that day, my mother called up whoever it is, and I was sent to a mental health facility, an institution, and I was there for about a month or 2 months. I can't even remember anymore. I just can't. There's a lot of things in my life that because of the trauma that I don't know what the word is. I guess I just don't remember it. It's really blank to me. So there's months and sometimes there's people in my life who will tell me about these major events that happened between this time and the time that I got out, and I can't remember any of them. So I feel like I haven't asked my mother any more questions. We don't really even talk about that moment, that time. I don't really ask any questions about that. But it was for a long time. I came back to school and like really had to get it in gear. I knew it was a long time. I was in a mental health institution. That was not a fun place. Very lonely, very sad. Didn't really get many visitors. Not many calls. Lots of tests. Lots of people looking at you. And man, for someone who didn't want to feel crazy, I felt fucking crazy. I felt crazy. So I can't say that made me better, but I came out, when I was out of the mental health facility, apparently somebody found out, and, everyone was super nice to me when I got out of school, and I was on a lot of drugs, a lot of fucking drugs. I was on Ritalin, and I was on Adderall. and also like an antidepressant. But eventually I stopped taking my medication. My mother didn't want to fill the medication. I don't know if it was a stigma with blackness, like, you know, she's just like, oh, hey, I don't want my kid taking no motherfucking medication anymore. That's a dub, that's out. Well, she's not taking any medication. And so I stopped taking medication. I just, at one point I remember shaking the bottle and telling my mom, like, yeah, I need more medication. She's just like, no, we're not doing that. So I wasn't on any medication after that, which could have been a problem. Now that I look back, could have been a problem. But anyway, so fast forward, you know, high school, still depressive issues. I've just had kind of mental health and behavioral issues for all of all of my school life, all of my teenage years was kind of just a back and forth thing. And multiple attempts to kill myself, multiple attempts to you know, kind of sabotage my life. Yet I was cutting. I was very, very serious about inflicting pain on myself and not being on the planet anymore. And so that's something but after that, I kind of kept it on the low. After I went to that mental health institute, I told myself I made myself a promise, I would never go back to a mental health institution ever again. Ever, ever, ever. The way that they treat black children in those institutions are fucking deplorable. And I'll never go back. And never, never, never. Don't ever send your kids to a fucking mental health institution without doing the proper research, without the proper reviews, without knowing that there are black people in there who have come out and are okay. Please. All right? Seriously. Next. I'm an adult now. And there's this one specific moment where I might have realized I was off the rails. I mean, I've always been off the rails, but it's like I might have just been a little bit too much. I moved out on my own and I had roommates at this point, and anytime anything wouldn't go my way, I would freak out. Like, I would literally have like a miniature temper tantrum, and I would scream, I would yell, I would be violent, like anytime I didn't get my way. And my friends kind of was like, oh, well, that's how Joe is. Like, that's JoJo. Like, that's how they are. Like, don't fuck with them. Like, you know, they were walking on eggshells around me. And at that point, you know, at that moment, I thought that was cool. Like, you know, I'm the head dog. Like, and nobody's going to test me. No one's going to try anything. No one's going to say anything and negative about me at all, because I control everything because of my attitude. I was scaring people, and that's not fair, right? But anyway, so yeah, and so that it just kind of stayed that way until I moved up to Jersey, and I was out with a friend, and I had a mental breakdown. I had a mental breakdown in a Ross, and it seemed like it started off with me being hungry, but I wasn't getting what I wanted. And I had another temper tantrum. And then, you know, my friend was like, what the fuck? We were new friends. And she was like, what the fuck is this? She didn't want to deal with it anymore. And I had to like come to my senses. Like, at first I was like, fuck you, blah, 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 you know. But then later I had to apologize because I was like, that's just not okay. But then I did it again. So eventually with the next. And so like eventually like it started becoming a pattern. Temper tantrums, going off, like feeling like I had no control. I didn't feel like me when I was going out, like when I was doing these things. It felt like it almost like it was an out-of-body experience when I would go off like this, like, and anything could set me off. Anything could set me off. On top of the fact that I was depressed as shit and wasn't taking care of myself and didn't want to be around and was doing high-risk bullshit that one wouldn't do if they cared about their lives. Like, you know what I'm saying? So eventually I got into a more serious relationship, and a little later on in my life, and she was a little older, and she also worked in mental health, and she kind of really wasn't going for that shit. And she had told me that I should go see a therapist. And at first I was like, no, I'm not seeing no therapist. I was very, very against going outward to seek help. And I just thought, and we could talk about this another time, but I thought that she was supposed to help me, fix me. And that's some toxic masculinity shit on a whole nother note. But anyway, to save the relationship, I went to therapy. And I wanted her to be black. I wanted them to be black and I wanted them to be female. So I found Dr. Prosper and we worked through some shit. Like I started to see slowly, where all of my anger came from, where all of my fears came from, where all of the problems that were everything, it seemed like my life was a fucking, what are those little things that you just take them out and there's another one, and there's another one, and there's another one. Oh man, I don't remember what those Moscow dolls or something, multiple layers of trauma, just fucking, my life is super fucking traumatic, and I didn't know how to deal with it, and I was placing it at other people's feet and expecting for them to help me sort through it because they said they cared, because they said they loved me, and if they didn't want to help me sort through it, then they just have to deal with it or fucking peace, and I'm still me. I'm still who I am. Then I was still me, just a little bit more traumatized me. So I was still a good person. They didn't want to lose their friend. And so they stayed around. And, because of that, I'm sure that there was a layer of fear there, or just a layer of caution about how they were talking to me or treating me and reacting to me. And I realize now I don't want yes men around me. I don't want people to feel like they can't be honest and real with me. So that was an issue. So after I went to therapy, I started to feel a little bit better. And then I went to a psychiatrist and I was put on medication. Full disclosure here, I was put on Lamictal and Vyvanse. Vyvanse was for the ADHD. Also was having an issue with binge eating. Oh yeah, I was binge eating a lot. I'm talking about anytime my ex-partner was not in the house, I would go to fucking Dollar Tree and buy bags of food and put them on the table and eat and eat and eat. It was it was really bad. And I would take the food and throw it away in another trash can outside so she wouldn't know about all the food that I was eating. That's how bad. I would go to a buffet on my off day and just engorge myself in food, not because I'm hungry, just because that made me feel better. Food made me feel better. I think when I think of a black person, well, not a black, but when I think about blackness as a whole and black culture and community, when we think of anytime when black people mourn, we have the repast where it's just food as far as the eyes can see. When someone passes, food as far as the eyes can see, and you guys just eat and talk and share a meal with each other to make yourself feel better. People are cooking and home cooked meals. People are bringing you food because obviously you're very sad. You don't want to eat, but also because that's kind of a symbol of love. Food to me is love. And it's still that way now. I just had to change my relationship with food. But my mother, she's always been a great cook. And anytime she wants to show us love, she would make something for us. That was her hug, So anytime I wanted a hug, anytime I wanted love, I would go to food. So it's just my health was out of whack. I was off the rails. So the Vyvanse was supposed to help with my attention, well, what I thought was attention disorders, and also my binge eating. It kind of curbed my appetite. And then I also took Lamictal to help with the mood swings. So I was on that medication for a while. It was okay. Didn't feel bad or off or anything like that. You know, not really many mood swings. I lost some weight, which was good. But then I moved, you know, that chapter of my life had ended. And so I moved back to Jersey. And I was feeling happy. My grandfather passed, but, you know, I was, I guess, feeling happy about the change. But then eventually the depression set in again. It set in bad this time. And I got to some really dark places. I didn't tell anybody about the dark places and spaces that I was in. And I had, it's funny, I had scheduled myself, and you might want to fast forward this part too, but I had scheduled a day from that I would kill myself. And I remember it was just a real beautiful sunny day. And I was going to jump in. I mean, I'm sharing these gory details because, like, these are things that you wouldn't expect that most people don't expect from somebody like me. I don't mean that in like a very arrogant way. I mean that, like, you see me smiling and having a good time and enjoying my life and shit, but my life has been I don't know, it's just crazy out here, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I had back to the story, and this is, like I said, 2016, and I had told myself that I was done with life. I didn't like my job. I didn't like where I was. I didn't want to be here in Jersey. I wanted to be back home in Atlanta. My relationship was over. And I wasn't really mourning that. I just kind of just was feeling alone in general. And I didn't have my grandfather with me. And so there was just a lot of things going on. And I just felt sometimes when you're depressed, you just feel alone. You feel like you don't have anybody, and there could be so many people around you. There's that fog again, just cloaking your vision. You can't see. And so that day, I had everything scheduled. I was looking at the train times, and I was going to jump in front of the last train that came through my town, and I was going to do it. I was. So I told, and I don't know why I had to schedule it. I'm a Virgo. I fucking schedule everything. I don't know. But anyway, so actually I went back to work the next day, and I got off the train, and I knew that there was another train coming because I had checked the schedule before. And I told myself, I said, okay, I could wait till tonight. I could just fucking get it over with right now. And I don't know what empowered me to do it, but I called, because I told my friend, actually, there you go, I told my friend Nakia, shout out to you, Nakia. I told my friend Nakia that I was having, like, you know, I was feeling real sad. She told me to call her or call somebody if I had any issues, and I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be a burden to anybody. So I called the suicide hotline. Stupid fucking me. I mean, do it if you have to do it. I shouldn't have been calling no white person. That shit was gonna trigger me, and it triggered me. I was triggered. She wanted to find me. She wanted to figure out where I was at. She, you know, was clocking me, and I just remember just walking home. I walked away from the train tracks, and I called and I said, I'm feeling like I'm gonna kill, you know, I feel like this is it. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm having a really hard time right now. And I just was fucking crying. It's fucking 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just fucking crying. And she's probably doing her Kim Possible shit and fucking mapping my GPS and my location. And I just was really fucking done, over it. And I hung up because I felt like she was trying to find me, and I didn't want to be found. I just wanted help. And I don't know, maybe somebody in the mental health world can, I mean, I understand how it's a good idea to be found, but I just really wanted somebody, I want somebody to talk to and less of somebody to disrupt me. I know it probably sounds very selfish and it doesn't make any sense, but that's how I felt. So I came home and the police showed up and they're knocking on my door, and I rent my apartment. I'm a landlord, so he didn't know which floor I was at, and so my tenant downstairs at the time came to the door and was like, was a writer at that moment, was like, they don't live here. And so they left or something like that, and or that I'm not here right now. So they left, and that's when I realized, oh shit, the police are probably gonna come back. And so I told my cousin. I told my cousin for the very first time. I told someone for the very first time since I told my mother when I was 12 that I was considering killing myself. Oh, actually. Yeah, no, that I was considering killing myself. I actually told when I was in Boston, I had some incidences where I wanted to kill myself. And so she was there. But the first time that I told somebody in my family, somebody who, you know, that I really wanted help. And yeah, my friends came to the rescue that weekend. They came up to see me. We had a really good time and we enjoyed ourselves, and I kind of felt like I wasn't alone. But once again, a few months later, it came back, and it kept doing that. It just kept coming back, and I wasn't taking my medication at that point because you got to see a therapist for that, and I didn't want to see any more therapists. It just was just a bad news bears all the way around. So anyway, now where I'm at, there was one last time, and I remember it was in the wintertime, and this is it, but in the wintertime, I actually went to go, I remember I had another day set. I said, I'm gonna kill myself this day. I didn't even too much plan out how. I just knew I was gonna be over it. I was gonna be done. I always told myself I'd like make an antifreeze cake or some stupid shit like that. I don't fucking know. Heard it tastes good and I want a cake. But anyway, so I fucking wanted to go to one more party. That was a Hot Sauce party. Shout out to Hot Sauce. And I went to that party. I invited my friend, my really close, the only coworker that I was close with at the time, and she came, and we were it's the very first Hot Sauce party, so we were jamming in the house and like having a really good time, and I felt like I wanted this more. I felt like I wanted to feel this love more. I felt like I wanted to feel community more. I felt like I got so fucking drunk. I never get that drunk. I got so fucking drunk, and people they fucking Brooklyn, drove from Brooklyn all the way back to Jersey and all the way back to Brooklyn just to make sure I was okay. Like, I don't know, it just, that in that last day, that party, it clicked to me like, wait a fucking second. I have people who care about me for real, like strangers. Like, I've made an impact on these people enough for them to do something like this, be selfless. And also, I had a really good time, and I really want to experience this more. And I remember like sitting down at this table, and like obviously being surrounded by this art, and like just kind of trying to channel my grandfather, and like, because I know he would not want me to die. Like, I know that all this shit would be in vain. Like, what's this all for if I'm not here to experience it, if I'm not here to tell his story, if I'm not here to share the art? Black Boy Complex was invented at that point, but I wasn't even really thinking about it. Like, I wasn't even thinking about everything that I'm doing right now. Then I just was thinking, maybe for like one day, I'd like to try to want to live for once. And what would that look like? what is that possibility for me? What could become of tomorrow if I just tried a little bit? And like, and I don't want to say that I was never trying before, but like actually tried something different. Tried to approach life a little bit differently. And not everybody can do that. But, you know, I channeled, you know, really just thought and breathed and thought. And I was like, sometimes I do want to die. Sometimes I don't want to die. But I think it's just I don't want to be in pain. And if I don't want to be in pain, I have to stop hurting myself. And like I said, I'm not a mental health specialist. All I know is what worked for me. All I know is what worked for me. And so I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I don't want to fucking be in pain anymore. I don't want to hurt anymore. I don't want to hurt my family anymore. I don't want people to worry about me anymore. And if I kill myself, there are so many people out here on this planet who love me and care. This shit would take them by fucking surprise. Like, they wouldn't even have known that I was going through all this pain and like holding on to all this trauma. Like, they wouldn't have never known. So it's important for me to be here. At least I thought that at the time. And now I know that it's true. And it's important for you to be here. And yeah, so that was my mental health journey. Presently, well, my mental health journey never ends, but presently right now, as you can see, well, as far as social media has shown you, I'm really happy. I am stress-free. I let things be what they are. I don't try to change or mold things into things that they're not. I don't look or expect anything of life. I take every day, one day at a time. You know, obviously I plan for things that I like to do, but I don't stress about nothing. Bills come knocking. If I got the money, I pay it. If I don't, I fucking don't. You know what I'm saying? And luckily I'm privileged to say that. But, you know, even if I wasn't privileged to say that, like, I know, fortunately, I have people in my life that have my back. And if you don't have people in your life who have your back, you holler at me. You hit me up right now, because you got me. I know people say that, but you do. Bruh, for real. Like, if you don't have anybody in your life right now who you feel like you can rely on, fucking hit me up. I will give you my fucking personal number and we will become very close. Why? Because you're just that important to me. It's just true. It's just true. But I have that type of people in my life, those type of people in my life. So, like, right now I'm really good. Like, talking about the story kind of put me in a good place. So I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to let that shit go. Talking about my past still, sometimes it's traumatic. It's just, I can feel like, you know, but I know that it needs to be talked about, because a lot of people can't believe that I've gone through a lot of, and I still struggle with mental health. Full disclosure, I'm off my medication. I am not in therapy, but I do see my doctor. I have a primary care provider. I do see my doctor regularly. We do check-ins. I check in with my friends. I check in with y'all. I check in with my family. And I don't feel like I need to be on medication right now. If I ever start feeling a little off, then I'll go and do what I need to do. But right now I'm not on any medication. I feel great, and it's been a year since, well, not a little over a year now since the last time I tried to commit suicide, and it's been a year since, a year since the last time I was depressed, and I'm feeling really good, excited for the future, excited for what I can bring to my life. I'm excited for what love can bring to my life. And as far as the future is concerned, I will continue to keep an eye on my mental health, being an advocate for mental health, for boys like me who struggle with mental health and like sometimes don't know where to go and don't want to lead towards institutions and don't want to lead towards doctors and stuff. Like I get it. I get it. And it's hard, especially like, me, moving forward. I'm very interested in getting top surgery, and a lot of these states require that you go see a mental health therapist, and I'm like, fuck that. So I still got these fucking tits on me. Like, there's just a lot going on. But right now, I'm feeling really good. I'm very excited for the future. I'm excited for your future. I'm excited for our future. And yeah, man, that's my mental health journey. It's been a long time fucking coming. And I really want to shout out to everybody who's kind of been a part of that. Like I said, shout out to Hot Sauce. I told them, last party, and I'll put some information in the description below so y'all can see, find out a little bit more about them. But yeah, shout out to Hot Sauce. That really kind of shifted some things for me. Shout out to my friends. And yeah, shout out to motherfucking me, man. I'm here. They tried to fucking kill me. I tried to kill me, and I'm here. And mental health looks different for everybody. So check in on your peoples. Check in on the strong people. Check in on the weak people. Check in on everybody. Treat everybody with kindness. You don't know what the fuck they're going through. And yeah, man, check in with me. If you need me, I'm here. You can holler at me. Black Boy Complex, I'm there. Complex Black Boy, I'm there. If you want to speak to Joe, DM me, get my number. Let's talk straight up. But yeah, so this is the end. I'm capping this off. Mental Health Awareness Month is over after today. All right. And it's a full moon. So get your full moon ritual on if you do that type of joint. Or just bask in that energy. Go sit on a porch or sit outside real quick and just take a couple breaths. Think about your life and where you want to go, and just remember that, life is crazy, but you don't have to be. No. And if you are, it's your type of crazy, right? Like, said I was going to do it. I did it. Like, subscribe, please, and comment below. Let's start a conversation. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Do your thing, bruh.